Welcome to Dog on the Plot. I'm actually on the plot, not in a hot tub this week, and it is cold. Also have a dog. She's here wrapped up, I'm wrapped up, but there are jobs to be done, and I do want to get some stuff done on the plot this weekend. I've got something to plant, something quite unusual to put in, so I'm going to do that, but I also want to look at my potential fruit tree guild. So in front of me I've got the polytunnel, then I've got the 4 raised beds, I've got some asparagus, some strawberries and the drosterberry in those at the moment. And then we've got the brassicas behind me, 2 beds, and the bed in between is what I'm thinking is going to be the fruit tree guild. So at the moment it's full of strawberries, and I've got strawberries here, I've got strawberries here, that's too many strawberries. But I do want to keep the strawberries as a kind of ground cover, but I want to add more fruits into this particular spot, including the fruit trees. So I've got 3 trees that I moved from the old plot, 2 apple and a pear. And my thought is I could have an apple either side and a pear in the middle. I'll keep a lot of the strawberries for ground cover, but I'm going to add more fruits in there. So I've got the currant bushes, I've got the raspberries. I can also put things like herbs and edible flowers, all things in this bed that will support the fruit trees that I'm putting in here. And I think that'll work really quite well. But the first thing I have to do is get this black plastic up. It's the last bit of black plastic on the plot. But while I do that, I'm going to send you back in time to just over a week ago when I decided to sow my chilli seeds. I'm taking advantage of this absolutely beautiful frosty morning to sow my chilli seeds. So I have 15 varieties of seed here. And I've actually started them already, in a sense, because they've been soaking overnight in a tea solution. Now, the ideal tea to use is chamomile, but I'd run out, so I've used just ordinary breakfast tea. And if you're going to soak your seeds, it takes, no more effort to just stick a tea bag in the water, and it's supposed to help break down the casing a little bit more effectively and get better germination for your seeds. So I've done that. It was lukewarm water that the seeds went into. Obviously, don't pour boiling hot tea on your seeds. So it was just lukewarm, and they've been sitting in that solution overnight, and they're now ready to sow. So I've been out into the garden, I've braved the frost, and I've found my heated propagator, because you can't sow chilli seed in January without some additional heat. Even if you have a very warm house with the heating on, these are going to need some bottom heat that's going to keep that soil warm and help them to germinate. So I do have a very old propagator. I've dug it out of the shed this morning. It was pretty dirty. It needed a good clean. So in fact, it's soaking right now. So I'm going to sow my chilli seed, and then I'm going to show you how I use the heated propagator to get these started. So I've got my compost, my room temperature compost mix, which is seed sowing compost, multi-purpose compost with a little bit of perlite in there as well. And I'm going to fill my little trays. I'm going to put 3 different varieties in each tray. So I need 5 trays. That's math I can just about do. And I'm going to bottom water these before I get sowing. So, because this compost is quite dry because it's been in the house and keeping warm. So I'm going to make sure it's nice and moist before I put the seeds in. So that's all my trays watered. I used lukewarm water, so you don't want anything to shock the seed. That's the point. So let's start with my first one, which is Portugal. I'm just going to pour off the tea. I should be able to use my chopstick to get the seed. Oh, there we go. It's stuck to the chopstick there. And then I'm just going to pop it just beneath the surface of the soil. Ooh, here we go. Okay, that's one. There's 2. And 3. And I'm now going to do that for all 15 of my varieties. The final part of the sowing of these is going to be a light covering of vermiculite over the top. This is just going to help keep the moisture in, which is especially important when you've got seeds on heat because they will dry out at a pretty fast rate. There we go. Right, I'm now ready to get rid of this mess and set up my propagator. Now the propagator is washed. This is an old propagator. It was Mark's from many years ago and I've used it for at least 3 or 4 years. It's broken in places, but I have got some tape that I'm going to tape that up. I had the old tape on from last year. I've just taken it off while I was washing it. So I'll repair that. I've got it reasonably clean. I've switched it on and it does feel like it's heating up. I was thinking I probably should have checked that it still does work before taking the time to clean it. But yeah, I think we're okay. And it's a very simple propagator. It doesn't have multiple temperatures or anything like that. It is what it is. So I'm going to, because the chilies do want a nice warm temperature, I'm going to put them directly onto the bottom of the tray. Anything that doesn't need quite so much heat, I could lift slightly off by using another tray that these can sit in, or using this wire rack for baking, which I'm just going to show you a trick that I'm going to use with that in a moment. But let's get all those in first. There we go. Now my trick is that you pop this on top. Hang on, I've got to do some lolly stick moving. There we go. I've managed to position them so I can pop this on top, which means I can put another layer of seedlings on here, which will fit when the lid goes on top, although I will have to pop these perhaps down like that. There you go. And the reason I'm putting the onion seed in here, these are my onions, is they still haven't come up other than the little one in the corner. And I think it's just not warm enough in my house. I don't keep my house particularly warm. So I'm going to give them a little bit more warmth in the propagator, see if we can get them up. Right, let's stick the lid on. There we go. And I'm going to close the vents. I'll open the vents once we get germination, but while we're waiting, the vents will be closed to increase the humidity in here, and I need to repair this little corner, but otherwise that's ready to go. Now, no grow lights as yet because nothing's come up, so nothing needs light at this point. Oh, one more thing is that I've also sown my broad beans now, so they can come onto the windowsill, but they don't need to go into the propagator. There's plenty enough heat in the house to get those going, and once they are going, they'll go out into the greenhouse anyway. But what I will do is just pop a little lid over these that just about fits. And all that is for the same reason this is on, is to keep humidity in there. Oh, I'm happy with that. Just need to repair that corner, but otherwise that's all done. And it really feels, I know the onion seed was already sown, but sowing the chilies feels like the start of the season, doesn't it? Yeah, happy with that. Welcome back. We will check on the chilies a little bit later in the video. But while you've gone, I've been very busy. So I got the black plastic off of the strawberry bed It wasn't quite as easy to pull off as I thought it was going to be. It had been pinned in the corners, and also a lot of the strawberries had grown. Obviously, they grow through the holes in the plastic, but then they'd sent out runners and rooted through the plastic. So it was, yeah, a little bit destructive, but that's the last of the black plastic on the plot now. So it's really nice to get rid of that. I don't like that black plastic stuff. I will reuse it to cover beds when needed, but I don't want it on the beds permanently. And part of the reason is because it shreds and it sheds all of those little bits. And indeed, I had to go around and pick up a lot of the strands of black plastic that had embedded themselves into the soil. I also took out a few weeds, but otherwise, because of the black plastic, the bed was quite clear. And then I started digging the holes for the fruit trees. So I tried to dig them as you're supposed to, which is in a square, not too deep. They don't need to be too deep, but a square pattern, so you have the corners where the roots will hit and then hopefully extend out into the bed. How well I made those into squares is up for debate, but that's what I attempted to do. And then I've just poured some water in the holes to soak in before I plant the trees. And waiting for the water to soak in is a good opportunity to have a little bit of a rest, have a cup of tea, have a little snack, and then, yeah, get back to it. I can't remember. Oops, sorry. I can't remember if that's the pear or that's the pear. Would have helped if I had labelled them clearly. Right, I'm going to watch an old video back and make sure that I've got these the right way around, and then we can plant them. Okay, confusion over. I did have it right. That is the pear in the middle. So I'm going to have the pear in the middle of the bed, the apples either side. I've put the smaller apple to be the one that's nearer the path, so it won't be so obtrusive. But as I said, I do want to keep these quite well pruned, so they're quite compact. The other thing is I'm not putting anything additional in the planting holes. I'm treating these trees mean to keep them keen. I want them to send those roots out to find nutrients and water. But I have watered the hole, and they are in the pots that I put them in just to store them after moving them from the old pot. So they have got actually some nice fresh compost in the pots anyway. Right, so let's get them in the ground. Last job then, it's just to water them in. I'm really happy to have got that done. This is the right time to be planting trees like this. You want them to get established during these colder months, and then I don't know if we'll get fruit on them this year. I mean, they have been significantly disturbed. They weren't great producers on the other plot either, but yeah, we'll see. Thank you for your help, Dory. Monitoring, making sure I was doing it right. Yeah. There we go. So that'll just help settle the soil around the roots, make sure there's no air pockets as with the stamping them in. I'm really happy with that. Now, not a job for today, but the trees will need a prune. But what I am going to do is take these raspberries out of this bed. So they were only put in here temporarily when I moved them from the old plot so that their roots were covered while we had cold weather. And indeed, we've had quite a lot of cold weather and snow. So I'm hoping that they're all right. In fact, I can see a little bud just there, so I think we might be okay. So I want to move these into that bed, but I don't think I'm going to do that today because it's awfully cold. Dory's cold. Look at her, bless her. So I think I'll leave that for another day, but there is one more thing I want to get in the ground. I promised you putting in something a bit unusual, so let's do that. So around here, behind the polytunnel, I've got something soaking in a bucket. Here it is. So what is it? Can you guess? Have a little look. It is a marshmallow root. Okay, so with marshmallow, it's quite a big plant and you eat the roots, and that's what marshmallows are made from. But yeah, Nick sent me this from that British homestead because I'd bought some seed, and after I'd watched her talking about her marshmallow, and then she's like, no, I'll just send you a root. So I've been soaking it so it's ready to go into the ground, and yeah, we just need to find a spot for it, but we are a bit spoilt for choice because almost the whole rest of the plot is empty and ready to be planted into. So other than the fruit tree guild we've just been working on, the brassica bed and those raised beds that have got the strawberries and asparagus in, everything else is clear. Oh, and the garlic, we did put the garlic in. So at the very front here, I've got a line of spring bulbs. So hopefully they're going to come up at the front of the plot and make it look really pretty. But everything else is just ready. So last week we took the covers off, we got the beds prepared, ready for planting. And yeah, I've pretty much got my pick of the beds for where to put this. So some beds are earmarked for particular crops that you need to plant together. So for instance, sweet corn, although you can interplant with the sweet corn itself does need to be all in one place. But going forwards, what I would really like to do is create more polyculture beds. So if, say, I'm putting in brassicas, I might have a couple of cabbages in one bed, a couple of cabbages in another, a couple of cabbages in another, and then all, and so on with other crops, so that you've got all sorts of things growing in one bed together, and that's duplicated over all of the beds. Obviously, there's going to be some things that take up a lot of space, like pumpkins, so I'm going to have to be kind of aware of that. But yeah, that's why I'm sort of saying I could put this anywhere, because in some senses it doesn't really matter because everything is going to go everywhere. I guess one of the things that I might think about is this is a very tall plant and my son is, well, it goes from that side to that side. So it's going to shade things on the other side of it, but that might not necessarily be a bad thing. So I just feel a little bit like, I don't know where I'm going to put it. Maybe I'll put it in well, I guess the other thing is that it grows big, so you wouldn't want it right by the path because then you'll be brushing into it all the time. So that's one thing to bear in mind. So yeah, and basically I could just like throw a stone, couldn't I? And wherever the stone falls, that's where I plant it. Shall we do that? That's a bit random, isn't it? Let's do it. All right, let's find a stone. Where's a big stone? Okay, that'll do. I can tell I'm going to get comments about this. Right, here we go. I thought it was going to land on the path then. That is very close to the edge of the path. That's exactly what I didn't want. Well, maybe we'll go in a little bit from there. How about that? Actually, I think this is where I earmarked the sweet corn for, so that's probably not the best place to do it. Shall I do it again? Let's do it once more. Right, here we go. Try not to throw it into Mark's greenhouse. That was exactly the same spot as before. If I tried to do that, I wouldn't have been able to do it. Well, I think, fate is saying that that's where it should be, sweet corn or no sweet corn. So yeah, that's where it's going. Right, there we go. Right, that's where the stone landed. So that's where it's going. I mean, this is not irreversible. If I do decide that this was a terrible place to put it, I can always move it. Oh my God, look how good this soil is. I'm not used to this. Right, I'll loosen the bottom, stick it in like that, put it around the crown. There we go. And a little water in. There we go. Marshmallow on the plot. It's exciting. Now, I thought that was going to be my last job on the plot. Sorry, Dory, there's one more thing that I realised I meant to do, and that was plant my field beans. I've been talking about this for a couple of weeks, and I still haven't done it because of the weather. But as you just saw there, the ground is fine at the minute, yeah. So I'm going to put these in. It's too late. It's too late to put these in, but my hope is that they grow somewhat, and they're meant to be a cover crop, so I am going to be cutting them down and then chopping and dropping them. So I'm going to get these planted in, and I'm going to meet you back at home to check on the chilies. So things have slightly escalated since earlier in the video, but we've got some germination, and I'm looking forward to showing you. Actually, what I've just been doing is checking the temperature in this propagator. Remember I said it just has one set temperature. Well, currently the soil in here is registering at 23 degrees, which is fine for germination of chilies. And we have some, so the lights are on. So we've got 3 Trinidad perfume have come up, and 3 all 3 Chinese 5-colour, which is one of my favourites. So I'm really looking forward to those ones. No Big Jim yet. Come on, Big Jim. We also have no Cayena, but we've got 1 kimchi and 2 lemon drop. And we also have 2 of my lemon drop saved seed. So that's good to see that's come up because I gave a lot of it out. No Cajun Bell yet, but we have Black Royal, 2 of those. I did 3 of each of all of these seeds. And then in this one, we've got 2 Serrano have come up. They were the first to come up, and look, lovely, strong little seedlings. We've got 1 Lee Black. There's a weed, but no red ricotto just yet. Wait, I'm wrong. Look, the tiniest little seedling is just appearing on the red ricotto. Yes, Dory. So that's what's currently in the heated propagator. That's fine. I've got the lights on. So I'm using my little trick. Whoops, lost the lights. I'm using my little trick with the baking tray. So if I just position these correctly, I should be able, oops, pop that like that and like that. And then when I put the strip lights on them, when I retrieve them from down there, they're just lifted a little bit high so that you're not going to burn the leaves. And in fact, the leaves look fine so far. So that's working quite well. Okay, all tucked back in. So I'm leaving the vents open now so some of the moisture can be released now that I've got seedlings up, but there is still obviously some to germinate, so they're still on the bottom heat. The lights themselves, very cheap from Amazon, but they've been working fine for me, and I do like how flexible they are and that you can actually split them as well and have 2 there if you've got things stacked on shelving. So I might treat myself to a few more of those. Now over here, these are my sweet peppers, and I've just put the temperature gauge in there because these are on an old heat mat that was for, I think it's for like Chinese cookery or stuff, and it's at 35 degrees, which is a little bit too warm. I have got a tray and another tray, and then my trays inside to try and disperse the heat a little bit, but yeah, I might be cooking these seeds. And what these seeds are, just take the top off, is sweet pepper. Actually, I've got 1 tray of my chilies in here because they hadn't germinated any of them yet and still haven't. So these are the chilies. So in this one, we've got Portugal, early jalapeno, and Hungarian hot wax. And yeah, nothing so far in there, but the rest are sweet peppers. So as I say, they were only sown a couple of days ago, so obviously nothing has come up yet. But the varieties that I have done, I've done 10 varieties. I've got bell pepper, come a bit closer, bell pepper Morris. That one is from Claire at the Farmyard Garden. I've got long red Marconi, which I did last year. Quite happy with how those did. New to me this year is Lemon Dream. Okay. Sweet Banana did really well last year. From Ali at the Right Pear Plot, I've got Candy Cane Sweet Pepper. Really looking forward to that one. I've got a Topipo Rosso, so just a standard kind of pepper. I don't think any of those germinated for me last year. Shepherd's Ramshorn, that's from Isotope Chillies. And I've got Corno Giallo, and Petit Marcel, yes. Oh, and another one from Ali, Sweet Spirals, sweet pepper, another one I'm really looking forward to. So yeah, 10 varieties of peppers. I've sown 3 seeds like I did with the chilies. So we'll see what comes up in a couple of weeks. Now the onions, they have been coming up. Elsa Craig has got a few now. I mean, it ain't great. But Bedfordshire Champion has 0, and I'm wondering if that was old seed. And speaking of Ali at the Right Pear Plot, she's been experiencing the same thing with old Bedfordshire Champion seed. So maybe I need to buy some fresh seed for that one. And the other thing, oh, my broad beans. Look at that. Is that not a thing of beauty? I'm so pleased with these. That's almost 100% germination, and I think some will still push their way up. If I lifted this, you could probably see the roots. Shall we do it? Yep, there you go. Can you see? Roots underneath. So is any missing roots? That one hasn't got any roots. 1, 2, 3, maybe 3, no roots there. That's pretty good germination though. So that's all the seeds that I've got going at the moment, but the next ones to do are aubergines, tomatillos and Cape gooseberries. So that will probably be this week. There are 2 more things that I wanted to show you on this table before, well, there's another job to do in the allotment, so stay with me. One of them are these are sundew plants. They're carnivorous plants. I got one from Gardeners World Live, one from Malvern, and they eat fungus gnats. Now I haven't got any at the moment, just checking. They're attracted to light, so you often see them on the window if you do have them. But no, we're okay at the moment. But I've got exposed soil here in my living room with having my germination station in the living room. So if fungus gnats do appear, these, I hope, will take care of them. They need to be kept in rainwater, so they're in a little dish of rainwater there. The other thing I very randomly got on the table is a pair of old tights. They're not mine, they're actually my cousin's, but I have a use for them, and as I say, it's something down at the allotment, and I forgot to do this when we were down there before. So I'm going to take this dog for a walk. You want to go for a walk, Dory? Do you want to go to the allotment? Yeah, we'll go to the allotment. Right, we'll meet you there. So if you haven't guessed yet, the thing that I forgot to do was stake the trees. Maybe you were screaming at the screen before, you need to stake them, Gary. And I do, because we predicted quite severe storms this weekend, apparently. So I do want to get them staked because they're new in the ground. It's not like the roots are anchoring them really in any way at the moment. I think they're in a good place because we have southwesterly winds. So the polytunnel is going to act as a little bit of a windbreak, and there's a hedge and trees beyond that, so that will act as a little bit of a windbreak. But I do want to stake them as well. So I found my stakes. I've got my cousin's tights, got some scissors, got the mallet. So let's stake these trees. So it needs to face the direction of the wind. So the wind is coming this way, so it needs to go in this way. So like that, I would say. It looks pretty good. Right. Obviously you don't want to be staking into the roots, but that seems like quite a nice distance actually. Okay, much warmer down at the plot today. And then I'm just going to put my tights around it there. Just don't want the stake pressing against the tree. There we go. Yep, Dory. Okay. And that is it. So that should be at least a little bit more protected if we do get these big winds this weekend. Okay, that's one done. 2 more to go, but I'll say goodbye. Thank you for watching. I hope to see you next week.